very interesting presentation. Again, it's focusing on Uganda's National Curriculum Development Center,
correct.
NCDC. I hope I'm really a member of NCDC in the house. It sounds very interesting.
So yes, we have our members, the representatives of the NCDC. You see, this is the coin. We've had one side of the coin just 15 minutes ago, up to a minute ago. This is the other side. Because I have to state this, I'm the husband of the previous speaker, and I find that her approach always, she is not aggressive enough. And she says she cannot be aggressive enough because she's in the culture. She speaks the language. She's a Musoga. She lives in Busoga. So I'm an outsider. So I'm going to tell you the truer story, trying to contextualize it and bring in the others, because Dr. Nabi is not the only one who works on the language. So, position statement. We had a few lines in the call for papers, and of those, I do not think that there is actually a problem with capacity building amongst us. We're doing the right thing. Technology can help. We've had 2 papers ago. We saw how during the COVID period we can also continue functioning, doing research. Rather, there is a problem with language, culture, linguistic realities of contemporary Africa. In that, politicians tend to put up some window dressing, referring to the keynote of this morning. It's all window dressing. They want to empower the indigenous languages, but they utterly fail to do so. This is bold, and it will be much bolder than the previous one. As a case study, I'm looking at 2 branches of the National Curriculum Development Center in Uganda. The Literature Bureau, so books to read, and then what we just seen, books in order to teach. More in particular, I will focus on 3, not 1, 3 native speakers who do the type of work we've just seen, in order to produce literature on one hand, teaching materials, but especially teaching materials on the other, because literature is of course also used to teach. So, for those who come from abroad, Dr. Nabi here dropped in. I always like to take a step back, given this Musoga here. Musoga, where Lusoga is spoken by. Busoga is to the east of where we are now, east of Kampala. Spoken by, if you include the diaspora, 3.3 million speakers. So it's not an endangered or small language, it's a big language. 3.3 million speakers. We already know Dr. Nabi, who are the other people I will mention, Dr. Gilles-Maurice and Dr. Wambi. All 3, and we go through them, all 3. I'm going through them now. Dr. Moses Wambi has a PhD in education management from Makerere. He's currently the director of the National Teaching College in Kampala. In our corpus, we collect everything that exists. He has 4 works. Here are the works. I don't expect you to read them, but one of them, so step in 2, 4 lines, and we continue. One of them is a translation of Achebe's Things Fall Apart. Is that indigenous to Musoga? Well, it's at least African, and we move around the cultures. There's also another translation from the work, if I'm not mistaken, in Uganda. Dr. Gilles-Maurice also has a PhD in Lusoga literature from Makerere. He's now a lecturer at the University. He is the main producer of material in Lusoga, 69 works. So I cannot show them all in one slide. It's 1 slide, 2 slides, and you already see most of this literature. But if I go to the next slide, which shows the details of each, these are small books, really meant as climbers, 1 page, 2 pages, 20 pages. Sometimes he collects them, small booklets. Where does he produce them? He puts them up in academia, he puts them up on Google, sometimes with the CRC, so he tries everything to get material out. Lastly, Dr. Nabi, PhD in Languages and Cultures from Ghent University, now a postdoc there, 40 items, always. So I can show this in 2 slides, but it's a different type of material, lots of academics, interviews, emails. She writes in Lusoga on purpose, training people to reply in Lusoga, very hard. And if I go to some of the details, the material that she has transcribed is not that much in terms of pages, but look at the last line here. She transcribes oral data, especially oral material. These are hours, 2 hours of spoken material, 45 minutes of spoken material, and so on. With this, we come to the corpus. So these 3 gentlemen and lady, these 3 PhDs, are a sample of the bigger corpus. A corpus, we total of 3.7 million so far. Transcriptions of every single minute and second done by Dr. LAEA, 170 hours. This is equivalent to many thousands of pages, another 16,000 of pages. If you see this in the bar chart, this is the division in written and oral. So it's a sample of that we're going to use. To put it in perspective, 3.7, look at our neighbors here from Burundi. 3 different PhD students under our supervision at Ghent University built the corpus, and they reached first 1.9, then 2.2, finally 2.8. For an average score of about 8 minutes. I see Dr. Kampala there. For Uganda, 6 million speakers, he has built a corpus of 4 million. But what is the big difference? Kirundi and Uganda have a rich written tradition, unlike, of course, Musoga, which until recently was an oral language, indeed. 2/3 of all the data is from the 2010s. There's hardly anything from before, except the material from Pochen, that is now in Ghana. And now you can see the 2020s is already as high as the 1990s, and just starting this decade. What do we have? We have all sorts of genres. This is genres, policy, conversation, radio talk shows, and everything transcribed, and so on. Topics, all sorts of topics, of course, of religion, networking, that's like emails, and so forth, life, language, health, history, and so forth. Very diverse distribution. Now we come to the NCDC. No matter that all of these 3 gentlemen and lady have PhDs, 2 of them in African languages. No matter that all 3 funded their own research for years from their own pockets. No matter that one of them, Dr. LAEA, even publishes in linguistic journals. They publish their own books in the dozens and dozens. You'll see that. We take a sample of 100 today. Whenever their books are submitted for evaluation, each and everyone has been rejected. We heard the number before, but you have to multiply this. Each and every book except one. One by Wambi versus Wambi. The translation of Achebe takes 4.1. It is the only book that has been accepted for use in the education system. But what is the education system? Starts at primary 1 to primary 3 in Musoga. Are they able to read? So they put the horse in front of the cart, which Achebe, you have to accept at least one, so it's this one. But it's not even indigenous Musoga. It's translated, but at least it's one. And this is very surprising because Musoga is one of the regional indigenous languages passed as a medium of instruction. It's a medium of instruction, so you need books, at least if not to the students, the pupils, in the hands of the teachers. So, a decade later, that was enacted in 2002, enacted in 2005, we are 2023, so it's far more than a decade. Not a single textbook has been selected. Not from Dr. LAEA, not from Dr. Gilles-Maurice, not from Dr. Wambi. Even though their stated purpose on their website is evaluating academic materials from the public and writing recommendations. Ah, they write recommendations. Interesting. So here is now a case study. The 3 books from the case study. We're going to have them evaluated because they are all and in Lusoga. They were not chosen randomly, these 3. It's a typical Boasian trilogy. You have a dictionary, a grammar, and a textbook. And actually, they were the result of first an MA completed at this university, which was turned into this dictionary a year later. 2, a PhD defended in 2016. Here you see us presenting it to the president of this country. He follows our work because, as you may know, His Excellency is also a lexicographer. You may find his dictionary on one of the books there from the Biannual. This was turned 3 years later, so a lot of extra work went into it after the PhD, and did this manual for teachers. And lastly, and thirdly, one of the several postdoc projects that Dr. Makerere has done is Uganda, which is a selection from the corpus of oral material, which is always different. Oral is always different from written. Oral material, how do people speak when they cook? How do they speak on the radio? How does a sermon work? And so on. So transcribed and analyzed and illustrated. So we continue with the case study. These 3 books were submitted. They wanted processing fees not of 20 million, but of 24 million for people who are not from Uganda. What does that mean? $6,500. What does that mean in local currency? Well, a lecture, like some of you, earns a few million shillings per month. In other words, a whole year's of income was asked. You do not pay for school fees for your children. You do not eat for a whole year. You do not travel. And then you can pay to have it evaluated. After, as you see, all these works went through an academic process with juries and a PhD from Harvard and so on. So you trust they're already good. These are not people from the street who write in a random way. Well, we complain, 24 is too much. No, come on, be realistic. Seemingly, you can negotiate. They knocked a few million off. You can negotiate what it costs. So it's not only the cops when you're at the traffic lights that who ask money. They do this in our field. Now, we say, okay, you want 20 million? Fine. Give us a breakdown so we see where the money goes. And they gave us a breakdown. Well, we have to ask for each group 4 people, which we have to house 2 weeks in Serena Hotel. Yes! And they have to eat 3 times a day. Yes? And they need stationery. Okay, at the NCDC, they don't have stationery. Paper pens, they don't have. We have to pay for them. And the last item was even toilet paper. They are serious. We have it on paper now. How do they dare? Stop, I'm talking. You don't need to stop. How dare they? But this is the reality. So we go there and we produce our books and we write papers. But this is the reality. You pay for toilet paper for non-existent people. Who will of course not be at Serena. And Serena has toilet paper. So we submitted these 3. And now they have the guts to send reports. For Ewanika, they gave us 69%. 69%. This was work from Makerere. For the grammar, they gave us 66. And the last one, they gave us 55% for Oklahoma. So we said, okay, what do? We passed. We passed, right? We have more than 50%. No! You need at least 90%! Rework all your books, reprint them and bring them! They want to eat another 20 million. And then they have the guts to say, you know, you aim to improve this forage, but reports. So we have reports. But I won't reveal the people who read it. But these people don't write in Musoga, never read in Musoga. They don't know anything about Musoga. They found people to evaluate. It is printed in black on white paper. It is very thick. It goes like this, the report. Except for one thing. One thing. You don't write like they write in Uganda. You must write like the people next door. Now, the writing system, of course, is based on original fieldwork. Here we see us in the field doing a orthography test. My wife is pregnant of this little girl. By the way, our children are quadrilingual. Musoga, I speak French at home, we learn Dutch at school, and they hear us speak English. Quadrilingual. You try out Malaika Rumi in any of the languages I just mentioned. Uganda, Musoga, English, or Flemish. Conscious choice. Mama only speaks Musoga, Uganda, I only speak French. And of course, school is in Flemish, so Flemish, and English they just picked up. It works, but we know that, we've heard it as well. Now, this is the equipment you take for palatography, but you know that we published in a proper journal. Yes, there is a difference between a dental D and a non-dental D. This is exemplified here. We tested that. So yes, we write different from Uganda because it is different. Nonetheless, and other fieldwork continues, your writing system is wrong. Reflect on it and come back. We don't come back. So, it is impossible to produce materials in the current setup. One cannot, and our African languages, when those who did the system with the state, behave in this way. And this is the polite way. In the original title of my talk, I talked about kleptocracy. But the adjudicators found it even too strong. But I cannot call it anything else. So is there a way out? A few more minutes for 5 short things. NCDC-endorsed training. Meaning, you've heard it, you bring in people, you feed them, you pay their fuel from Kampala, you pay for all the teachers in the room, it costs you a few million again. You offer booklets for them to buy, no one buys anything. Big posters from the classroom at 10,000 shillings, what is that, 2.5 euro each, the price of a coffee, no one buys it. We even printed some of the books on the photocopy machine instead of selling the real books, so it's at cost. What do then? They steal it, and they copy it themselves, thinking they can do better than our photocopy. 2, so it doesn't work. We don't run through the NCDC, you kick them. Where is it? You kick them out. 2, do it yourself. We went to Uganda, we set up a shop. This shop. We delivered books. We bought a cupboard to put the books in after the story of NCDC last year, immediately after. What happened? We went back just a few days ago. We took all the books back. The cupboard is broken. The books we got back are eaten by ants and now look like this. So we have to really get them away. Look at the covers now. How many were sold? 0. So, do it yourself. There's no market. No one is interested. The posters were there at 10,000 shillings. No one wants them. No one sees the value of them. So, we put the books in the books. We drove back to Kampala again. We now have them. I'm rounding up. Way out 3. What about putting it online and selling it there? Perhaps the diaspora will try. So we put the dictionary first on the CD-ROM, or as a downloadable product. Very fancy material. You go to the website of many publishers, you click on it, you can immediately buy, you get a download. A very, I'm a lexicographer, so I know what I'm saying. Very fancy dictionary. Here is an example. This is the contents of the printed dictionary in digital format. If you work in a text, there is automatic integration with Word. Or you click, if you have connection with the internet, that's the integration. You click on any word, you can go to the internet from that word. It searches that word. Even this for that word at the top. Image search, you click, you get it. We even wrote a paper on it, digitizing it. However, like these two talks we are doing now, it has two columns on our paper, the first page. Because indeed, the first column is the positive version, the spin. The reality is the facts. It's we tried this in paper, and now we try this at a conference. People are double. Double and double. How many dictions did we sell? In 10 years? 2. Both of them from family members in America. So, no interest. Finally, to wrap up, put it online for free. Oh yes, it is used. The dictionary is now online for free. Who uses it? Professor Hyman in America, Professor Marlowe in America, Professor Postdoc in Holland, in Belgium, and so on. No one else. Lastly, very smart searches, Boolean searches through the dictionary, not even entire words. So you can do very smart things. It's the most advanced dictionary for any African language online. Only academics use it. Not a single native speaker, not a single teacher, let alone someone at NCDC who claims you don't know how to write. Print on demand, perhaps is the future. You see, I wrote this book, but this book does not exist. This book is my latest book. 800 pages together with colleagues at that university, mostly functionality, and get what? It is not printed anymore. It is a free download. In Europe, we have come to the conclusion books don't sell. It's freely online. And if you really want it, these are the downloads so far. 946 since a few months ago. So it's like selling nearly 1,000 books. And if people really want to buy, this is printed on demand. You print, you pay for the paper and the postage, and they send it. Who knows? We have to think in a different scheme. Let's assume for Uganda they will jump the paper world, immediately give laptops to all the school children, and we'll just have everything online. And those who really want, instead of photocopying like it was done for one of the dictionaries that is at the roots, you just ask in Germany to German companies to print on demand. Then I've understood the questions are for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gilles-Maurice. Wow. Actually, our hearts are broken. This is very sad. And as our keynote speaker said this morning, she was appealing to linguists and scholars to empower our African languages, and indeed they're doing that, but as policy makers, we need to preach this gospel to the policy makers and politicians to empower our African languages. Over to you, Dr. Sentana. Our next presenter is going to be sharing. Dr. Sentana is a senior lecturer in Department of African